Manzanita,
Manzanita.
It's kind of like Xenon.
Girl of the 21st century.
Yeah.
Woo!
1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, do we have to do an intro?
Yeah, we probably should.
Do we have to introduce ourselves?
Our name is... You need no introduction, obviously. Madonna. And here I am, Elton John. Sir Elton John.
Elton John, Madonna.
This is Explorigonians with Madonna and Sir Elton John. I'm Sir Elton John.
And I'm Katie.
Oh, well, then I'm Jordan, I guess. So, let's do it. This is the first episode of 2023.
And it's only
getting better. That sounded just like Madonna. I mean, you're spot on.
I thought it was very Elton John.
Oh, I heard that.
Today,
Do you have any New Year's travel resolutions?
I have so many. I feel like I am so hungry for a trip. It's insane.
Oh God.
I am secretly looking up flights all of the time. I was looking up like sailing. I was like, okay, what do I really need to like sail around the world?
Okay, friends, this is the first time I've heard about this, and my eyes are very wide right now.
They are. So yeah, I've been looking at. I'm like all over the place. It's like, oh, do I want to go to an island? It's like, I want to be in the snow. I want to see the Northern Lights. I'm like, get me out of here. We visited Jordan's grandparents last night, and they are forever in their homes. They will not.
Okay, well, that sounds like they're home ridden. They have nice lives, or they drive around and go to places.
They drive around at a max an hour and a half, and that's as far as they will go. They would love to go to Leavenworth, Washington, which would not be
Germantown,
which would not be that far, and that's like a big dream.
It might as well be Pakistan.
Right.
It's so far away.
It is so far away that they cannot go. Okay, but last night you said something about like you asked her what her plans were for 2023 or what she wanted to do, or what she was looking forward to, or something.
Yes, my 86-year-old grandmother says, "Oh, go to Switzerland, of course."
Yeah, and it was like my heart. Like, I don't know. I just got so happy. And then she laughed and she said, no. And she's like, quote unquote kidding. But yeah, I just like thought, oh, that would be so fun to just go on this little trip with them to this place that they would love to go. Anyway.
My grandmother's side of the family is very proud Swiss. And when we went to Europe, we orbited Switzerland. We went to every country around Switzerland, but Switzerland.
Yeah. I was like...
We're waiting for my grandparents, obviously.
We're still waiting. Hey, are you, like, pushing on the ottoman?
It's not called an ottoman.
What's it called? The footstool?
Okay, it shares a name with an empire.
It's the rest.
We've addressed this.
Ottoman.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
It's the same as Autobots. That's how they got the name Autobots, because all Autobots are Turkish. Optimus Prime, Turkish.
You and me, we're so different in the new year. Happy New Year.
Oh my gosh.
New year, new us.
New year,
same us. How has your new year been thus far?
It's been good. I feel like 2022 wasn't the best, but we had good moments.
Wasn't
just
the
over.
best.
I mean, like as a societal thing, like 2022 wasn't that great. I mean, there was good things that happened. There were a lot of really bad things that happened.
And we're feeling really good about 2023.
So my thing with 2023 is that I was named after Michael Jordan, who's probably my father.
Probably.
Michael Jordan's basketball number is 23. This is the year of our Lord, 23. Hence, this is all about Jordan, man.
But what was his baseball number?
I wish I could pull that out.
That's okay.
I don't know. What was it, Katie?
I don't know.
Number 6.
Why are you Napoleon Dynamite?
Because sometimes I feel like maybe I look like him.
Yeah, I've never really thought that until right now. It's like how you're moving your face.
Yeah.
It's like the
obviously
hair.
It was an act that he was doing. I think it's not turning into Napoleon now.
Okay, no, it's
morphing into somebody.
I think no.
I'm turning into Brad that I used to work with at the newspaper.
No. It's kind of like that plus the rat guy in Harry Potter. What's his name?
Oh.
Yeah, what is his name?
Wormtail? What?
Harry, you're here, and I'm going to. Oh, I've cut my hand off for the Dark Lord.
Oh my. All right.
Anyway, so the new year, I feel like, is going really well. As soon as midnight happened on January 1st, like, I felt a surge of energy. Like, I started sending videos to friends. Like, we sent them to the Ritter Bushes.
I didn't send them.
I sent one to my brother.
I didn't send one.
My brother is, well, that's because New Year, New Me. Yeah, I don't think my brother will ever listen to this because I think he'll fall asleep listening to a podcast. So he listens to, like, J-pop, which is not the same as K-pop.
I know. He's such a rebel. It's okay. We don't need his ears.
Well, I need his ear. I'd like to have it around my chest as a necklace.
Okay, what are we doing today?
So
Where are we going?
I would like to go to a place that you lived in.
Which one?
for
Lived
a
at
while.
or in?
You lived at it. You didn't live in it. Oh, that's weird. You lived there.
I was thinking about it, and I think I lived there around 2009, maybe.
So we're going to Bangladesh. Oh, no, sorry. Manzanita, Oregon. Sorry, I keep getting my notes mixed up here.
Manzanita.
Do you know what Manzanita means? Like what that name is derived from?
Apple. Little apple.
Ooh, you're correct. But I also think there's a plant called Manzanita. And by think, there is a plant called Manzanita. And allegedly it grows around there. I'm no botanist. So maybe.
Yeah. Well, also, there was shipwrecks off the coast of Manzanita, and that Manzanita was named like a beach resort in 1912.
Are we just jumping into some facts about
Yeah.
Manzanita? So Manzanita
you
is...
went there with the plant.
Oh, yeah. Robert Plant, the lead singer of Led Zeppelin. Anyway, so the look that you're
Ooh.
giving me...
It's just my face.
Sweet Satan. So what happens when you have Led Zeppelin or Stairway to Heaven go backwards? It sounds like they say like, sweet Satan. Bob and I did it once. Anyway.
Is that Led Zeppelin?
Yeah, they sing Stairway to Heaven.
Is a Zeppelin the thing in the sky?
It's a dirigible, a blimp.
Gerbil?
Dirigible?
Do I need a hearing aid?
Dirigible? So the name
Dogecoin?
Led Zeppelin comes across. So Led Zeppelin was kind of formed as a bit of a supergroup.
Whoa.
No,
wait.
Jimmy Page came from the band the Yardbirds, I believe. And Led Zeppelin was formed as kind of a supergroup of these other like really popular, really talented musicians. And then the drummer for The Who, Keith Moon, who had all sorts of problems. He'd destroy his drums, hopped up on God knows what. I don't know if he did a lot of coke. He did a lot of stuff. Anyway, he died young. Keith Moon in an interview said, "Oh, that band would go over like a Led Zeppelin, like a blimp made of lead." And so, yeah, the band were like, "Yeah, we'll have that name. You, Keith Moon."
Nice.
And they did really well.
That's your favorite band.
Anyway, yeah, I love Led Zeppelin.
Is it your favorite?
I don't do favorites.
That's not true.
I would say Queen is probably my favorite band.
Aw.
Yeah, I love Freddie and Brian May.
Okay, so Manzanita means little apple.
Manzanita, so it is on the coast, the Oregon coast. It's on central north.
Yeah,
Did you
it's
say
the North Oregon coast.
Well, it's not in Clatsop County. Anyway, it's
Ew,
about...
yeah, that's good. It doesn't need to be.
Ew, Clatsop. It's about, I don't know, a 26-mile drive from us here in the Mook.
So, right, technically, it's in Tillamook County.
The very north. It's the tip.
I don't know that Manzanita wants to be in Tillamook County, but they are.
I think Manzanita would like to exist. I think they'd like to govern themselves as a sovereign nation.
I think they could.
So they are right on the coast of the Pacific. They're nestled in this like kind of trifecta of things. They're right on the Pacific Ocean. Down the road is Nehalem Bay. And then they have Neahkahnie Mountain on the other side. So it's like this kind of oasis of all these different magical outdoor things you can do.
So I didn't really know about Manzanita when I moved there. I have family that lives in the area, but I probably went like a handful of times and just like popped in to the little church that they went to in Manzanita.
Which is not the same as a little apple. It's
No. And so like went for a wedding or some shindig. And so I had been there, but only there. So I hadn't really like...
You'd only been to the church in Manzanita?
I think so. I hadn't really like explored. So I ended up getting a job there on accident in Manzanita. And so I was living in Portland. And then, so yeah, kind of ended up unexpectedly moving to Manzanita and it changed my life. But yeah, when I got there, Manzanita is just like, to me, it's just like the strip of a town.
Because it's not off 101. Like most of like what we think of as like the popular towns along the Oregon coast. So you kind of drive through them on 101.
Right.
But the more, I don't know, I don't want to say like bougie, but definitely the more quaint ones, you have to like turn off of 101. So like I'm thinking of like Cannon Beach, I'm thinking of Manzanita, coincidentally, are like right next to each other.
Yeah, and I think that's something else too, is like I didn't really realize that people were kind of like the anti-Cannon Beach was Manzanita. It was like more laid back, more chill. And so when you drive off, like you turn off 101 and you just drive straight down and it's just like a straight shot to the ocean.
Because that road is Lanita Avenue.
Yes.
And it goes from 101 straight to the ocean. Like if you're driving down, you're like, oh, I'm just driving. It's really kind of cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's magical, amazing.
And then to have like all of like pretty much like I would say their business district is all along Lanita. So to have like your shopping district, your eating district, all of that just kind of down the same stretch is really quaint. I mean, it's a cool town. Something that I like about the infrastructure of Manzanita is like the sloped sidewalks.
Oh, I love that. It was great for driving. You'd like, if you had to do a UE.
Which is illegal in most of Oregon.
Which my neighbor was like, oh, there's no cops here, Katie, blah, blah, blah. Because I was like, you can't do that. Anyway, look at me now. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can do that.
But it's really good if you're like, you're parallel parked in Manzanita. You're going to leave that quaint little town and you do a UE and then you just kind of like slide up onto the sidewalk just a little bit.
I guess we shouldn't be telling people to do a UE. Don't be doing UEs in Manzanita.
Don't do that.
Okay.
I've never done it. There's no evidence.
What was I going to say? UE, that.
Huey, Dewey, Louie. You lived in Manzanita.
I lived there, but
changed your life. You just kind of like touched on that, like you just dropped it and walked
away
away from it.
Because I thought we could come back to it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what's your earliest memory of going to Manzanita?
Oh, I think I was 4, and my family said we're going to a place that's like San Diego but bigger. And no, none of this is true. My first memory, I didn't really know anything about Manzanita. I kind of knew Nehalem. I got my North County stuff mixed up a lot because there's a Costco outside of Astoria in their neighboring town called Warrenton. But for some reason, I kept thinking that was Wheeler, which is closer to Tillamook. So I was like, oh, you want to go to that Costco? It's in Wheeler, right? Thinking, yeah. So
as a child, you were like, hey, you want to go to that Costco in Wheeler?
Whatever. As we've addressed, like my
Costco
world,
baby.
I was born in a Costco. I was a free sample that my mom took home.
like an enthusiast.
So like I was said in like I think episode 1 of Exploragonians travel podcast, my world did not go further north than Rockaway Beach, which is south of Manzanita. So all of that was off the map, like uncharted territory. I needed a cartographer, a Buster Bluth. I needed something. So the first time I went to Manzanita was my little buddies wanted to go to the fireworks on the beach in Manzanita when I was home from college. So we did that, I think 2012. Sure. Yeah, that year.
Probably.
So did that. So that was the first time I went. And I remember we had gotten there after the parade because Manzanita is nothing if not a hullabaloo on Independence Day. So we got there afterwards, set up our bonfire, kind of did all that. Ton of people everywhere.
So, yeah, when I was working at the spa, I remember, because again, I didn't know anything really about Manzanita, and they're like, okay, it's like 4th of July, it's coming up. I'm like, okay, great.
Good for you. Whoop, whoop.
Right, and they're like, no, you don't understand. Like, thousands of people are going to show up basically overnight, because a lot of people have second homes there. It's, which really, when you're like, oh, Manzanita's like this main drag, Lanita, and the street over, which I lived on, is Manzanita Avenue, and that has a few other businesses. But yeah, like beyond that, it's very wide. There's like a ton of houses. So all these houses really fill up for 4th of July. And there used to be fireworks on the beach. I don't think they're doing that anymore. But they have a pretty iconic 4th of July parade that goes on. And I think like the Air Force or somebody comes and
Yeah, I think they do flyovers. Is that specifically for Manzanita, or is that just kind of like the North Coast area? Because on Independence Day this year, I was outside jamming to a podcast, not this one, playing with the dog, and then I heard like this huge rumble, and I was like, oh, is it like a farm truck going by? And then like, because, these things are traveling faster than the speed of sound, like I looked and I just caught like the last little glimpse of these like rocket jets like flying off. I'm like, wow.
yeah, I remember seeing it for the first time and just like coming up Lanita, or like they fly over Lanita, and so it's like, yeah,
terrifying.
just like the main drag, and so it's pretty cool. I mean, I would believe that they were doing it specifically for Manzanita, but I imagine they're doing it for, the whole coast, but whatever.
So you watched the parade when you lived there.
I believe the spa shut down for the parade.
Wow. So you got like an hour and a half off.
So I think I went out and yeah, it's like the streets lined with people,
Like
a
thick.
ton of dogs.
Thick with people. Like
Yes.
the first year that I saw the parade, you were dancing in it, our first year dating.
Hmm.
And there was like 3 or 4 people thick on the sidewalk. I was like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
It was like a Disneyland parade.
I just think that Manzanita, I mean, this is probably one of their biggest events, if not the biggest time of the year. So it's like the hordes of people show up for 4th of July and then they like stay through Labor Day, and then it kind of like quiets down. And so Manzanita, I was looking up the population.
Well, in 2020, I read that it was 603.
Okay, I also read that, but that's inaccurate because, well, according to
it?
my other research on a census from 2020, they said there was 454 people, because I think when I lived there, yeah, I thought it was like a town of less than 500. It was like 300 or 400 like full time.
Well, my census info said in 2010 there was 598 in 2010. So the population grew by 5 in a decade.
Okay, but then in 2021, I'd read that there was 617. But if we think about 2020, 2021, and people are living wherever, working remotely.
Digital nomads.
Yeah, so I bet that the population did go up a little bit. But
So
yeah,
something-
it's a small town.
But something with that, like they have like their quality of like their shops and their eateries like is so outpaced for like the size.
Oh,
It's ridiculous.
yeah. No, it is. And yeah, I just think that like for me, being in Manzanita was like this unexplored wonderland, right? Like I had no idea. And I was like, oh, you guys have a post office? There are 2 legit nice grocery stores plus like a health food store. And, there was like multiple restaurants that have, come and gone, and there's different things going on in shops that, I mean, staples in the community. There's a couple really nice clothing stores that are really nice, and especially for a town of 600.
Or 400.
Right.
Getting tourist money. I mean, they just must be getting buku bucks from people from Portland and Seattle, right?
So for sure. So I would say that Manzanita definitely attracts people from Portland and Seattle specifically, but there's plenty of people that come from California or other areas from around the United States and the world.
Ugh.
Yeah, and I just think that what I had always heard when I lived there was that everybody in Manzanita, like the business owners, everybody knows that you have to really like hustle during the summer to make as much money as you can to really like survive the winter time.
That's called hibernation, and bears do that.
There we go.
They eat as much as possible so they can survive through the winter. So I think you're the one who told me, and is this true that there's some city ordinance that prevents any like chain from going into Manzanita?
I think that is true. But as we've established on this podcast, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But if we think it's true, it's probably true.
Hell yeah.
Because, right, there is not a chain. There is, I was going to say the closest thing is that grocery store. And it is family owned, but it's like an IGA.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if that's more of a, just like a franchise. And so you can, but technically not on the main drag. So
I guess
don't
things
know.
are probably changing anyway. Well, also it's strange because there's a lot of parallels with shops that are in Manzanita are now in Cannon Beach and vice versa. So in
Which
that,
wasn't that way when I lived there, which just kills me. I'm just like, okay, whatever. It's fine. Just gotta let it go.
but I guess something that is looming over Manzanita at this point is that there are plans to put in this like Portland area brewery. They have plans to set up a big brewery, a hotel, I guess like an arcade, a place to play like bocce ball or something. And they're going to go, like, I think on the main stretch in Lanita, there's like a plot of land that they're going to take over. And that's like kind of, I don't know, it kind of doesn't make me feel great. It's probably going to be better than the winery that went in, quote unquote. I mean, because that thing's just kind of soulless.
It's soulless, but people enjoy it. I mean, there is no denying that Manzanita has been through a big shift. And I think that we could even go back as, so this crazy event happened in Manzanita.
Are you talking about Manzanita, where they crowned that year's mayor, a dog mayor?
Yeah, Manzanita. That's the thing. So Manzanita is very dog friendly.
And very active. I mean, there's so many different events that go on. It is so surprising. Like, for this little community, they do leaps and bounds more than, like, Tillamook does. Like, I'm so jealous of that community. And people are so engaged. Like, when I worked for the newspaper, we'd go to the city council meetings. And there would be, like, not only would the city councilors, like, know what they were talking about and be, like, asking interesting questions and actually proposing, like, good solutions to things. I think their mayor was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most of the time, like, their little council room was, like, full
Mm-hmm.
of the community who wanted to, like, have their voices heard and be engaged. Contrast that to when I would cover, like, Tillamook's city councils and Nehalem city councils. No one would be there. It would be me and sometimes Jane Scott, who has Jane Scott Video Productions, showing these meetings on public access. And then sometimes, like for Tillamook, one of the counselors would be asleep, and then he'd aggressively wake up and just chaotically vote
And
on
just
something.
vote.
No, wait, Joe.
So I will say the difference too is that Tillamook and Nehalem are like really working communities, and Manzanita is more of a retirement community.
Right.
And so it's like retirement plus younger and older hippies, and so it's very like alternative and now super bougie, which was probably
Always there, kind of lingering. Because, like, as you said at the beginning, like, this was designed, like, when this city was
Mhm.
originally, like, constructed, like, it was ideally to be for, like, I read it was for the Portland's leisure class.
Oh, I'm sure. But but then if we go way back, it was like, oh, the natives that were here for thousands of years.
You read more than thousands.
It was like 12,000 years or something, and I was like, well, that's disturbing. And then it was like the European settlers came and got them sick and murdered them. And I was like, okay. And then we shoved them somewhere else, and then we took over, and we're like, Manzanita's ours.
the leisure class needs this land.
Ugh.
But with that, like it was like the Nehalem people were the tribe that was in that area, and every report that I read, like they're really friendly. They really wanted to like work with the people who showed up, and they had tall tales and legends that they passed on to the other white settlers that showed up in the Nehalem Bay region. One was about treasure.
Mm-hmm.
They had some story about how in like the 15th century, I think maybe the 16th century, so that'd be like the 1500s. They had some story about how sailors arrived, assuming that's probably like the Spanish. They had this huge chest, and they marched it up the Neahkahnie Mountain, which is a big, like, wild mountain just right on the coast. And is it in Oswald West State Park? Is it the boundary, Neahkahnie Mountain?
I mean, I would assume, but again, I can't tell you.
Anyway,
yes or no.
It's a mountain, overlooks the Pacific Ocean. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Lots of trees. It's a kind of confusing hike if you don't know where we're going, because I think we got maybe turned around. I don't know. We ended up at a summit of something.
Let's move on.
Didn't find the treasure.
We did not find the treasure, but there was like that movie that
The
was made.
Legend of Tillamook's Treasure or something.
I just think it was called Tillamook Treasure, but
Probably the worst thing I've ever seen. And that includes like random like YouTube shorts of
It was pretty rough. I feel like we were excited. I was excited to watch it. I think we as like a community, it was like, oh yeah.
Who made that movie?
I don't know if they have like. I kind of feel like maybe they had local ties because I went and saw it at the local movie theater.
In Tillamook.
Yes.
I
And
think at one point they had Benny Hill Chase music, like.
I think they did too.
Woo!
Maybe this is our calling to redo it. We make it better. We focus on the people.
The Tillamook Treasure Cinematic Universe?
Okay, we'll get back to you, people.
Yeah, but the cover was really bad too. It was like a howling elk with like some like pixelated text on the front. I don't know, it was bad.
Maybe we should watch this.
Anyway, so people have been looking for this treasure for centuries at this point. Like, I read that 2 men died in like the 30s or something, like trying to excavate it, because there's some legend like it was buried somewhere, and maybe in the legend, like, I think they killed a slave and like buried him along with the chest, so
Whoa.
it, ward people off. Crazy. Where do you think it would be?
In the ocean.
You think it's like eroded at this point? That's true.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Also, with that and like sailing and all of those kind of things, you had mentioned there was like 2 shipwrecks off the coast of Manzanita.
Yes.
One was in 1913, and it was like the Glennislin. It was like some British ship.
Mm-hmm.
I had read that maybe they intentionally crashed it to like get insurance money, so like no one died. There's like, we're gonna crash this into Neahkahnie Mountain.
Wow.
Good day, mate.
Great.
And then the other one was a big hullabaloo. There was this mystery shipwreck that people assumed had happened. No one had ever found any remnants of the ship, but things would wash up along the beach and in the Nehalem Bay. Beeswax.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever find beeswax when you were like out and about doing your Manzanita stuff?
Oh, there's no way. And I think if I would have seen something, I wouldn't have picked it up and been like, oh, what's this?
Because it was so confusing for the white settlers who showed up, because the native tribe, like the Nehalem people, would be trading like chunks of beeswax, and they'd be like, where did you get this?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think also like chunks of porcelain were found. That clearly I think a lot of this stuff came from the Philippines, is what they believed, like via maybe China. And so they had like a couple different ships, like Manila galleons, that they had like whittled it down to what it could be. And when I was at the newspaper a few years ago, there was like I think the Oregon Historical Society or somebody released this big report. Like they had found like what the shipwreck was, and they said it was some 1693. This vessel vanished in 1693, and it was like the Santo Cristo de Burgos or something like that. And so that is what they believe was the Beeswax Wreck. And then I think last summer they found it.
Yeah, that was crazy. But where did it wash up? Was it in Astoria or Seaside or something?
I think it was south. I think it was maybe around Arch Cape, I think. I think it was around Neahkahnie Mountain, but it was in like a weird, like kind of inaccessible area that was like hard to get to. And so I think they were doing some like unmanned, like submergible like vessels, like looking for it. And they found, I don't know if they found the mast or they found something. They started to like bring it out. And I think National Geographic had this big story, which is a really good read. Like, it was really interesting. It had really good photography of like getting this stuff out and like getting it out before the tide shifted.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Where is it now?
Great question. It's definitely not in our house.
Great.
So, yeah, but can you imagine being like a native person in the 1600s and then just like, oh, here comes a ship. You don't know what it is. This is like monstrous thing. Who knows if it had already who knows if everyone had been dead already, like they all got sick or something. Unmanned vessel crashes. Who knows what happened?
Yeah. Okay, well, when you were saying that, I was like, yeah, I've seen Pocahontas. I got it. I was like, oh yeah, oh, look, clouds. It's like, oh no, sails. Oh no, John Smith.
Oh no, Mel Gibson. Get out of here. So shipwreck stories, anecdotes aside, I want to go back to how engaged the community of Manzanita was and how impressed that I was by that. There was one story that I got keyed off to at the newspaper because the pickleball community was in a war with the tennis playing community.
It was a pretty hot deal.
People were getting very heated because apparently there was like different times for like the tennis players and the pickleball players to play. But because it was like a tennis court, like the pickleball players would be there and the tennis players would show up and be like, "Hey, we play tennis here." And the pickleball players would be like, "Oi, piss off, this is ours." Or like the tennis, like it'd be like two people playing tennis and then like a gang of like pickleball
Right.
players would show up and be like, "Oi, get out of here."
But I think this was probably it too. Where it was like the pickleball players were probably the local retirees,
Right.
and then you had the couple like tennis Seattleites that like showed up that were like, no, we're gonna play tennis.
One was Serena Williams, like she got kicked out and I was like, "Whoa, you cannot kick out the GOAT here."
That's right.
That didn't happen. So that was also really interesting, but another thing that Manzanita, they had a switch in mayors when I was there. What the previous mayor had retired, and then what like a head city councilman had taken over, and he was Mayor Mike Scott. And so he was, I think he did a good job. Whatever. I interviewed him a few times. We got this intern working at the newspaper. An intern is a very loose, like he was basically a staff member. Like he wasn't really an intern. I don't know. Whatever.
Right.
So he was younger than me, which means he was still in diapers. But he was he was a great reporter. He was better trained than I could ever be. But I was telling him about like Mike Scott or something, and he just looks at me with a gleam in his eye and goes, "Michael Scott." And I don't know the office, so I'm like, yeah, that's the name. His name's Mike Scott. He's the mayor of Manzanita. And I just immediately probably became the biggest square for that guy. And I apologize to him right now. If you're listening, which I know you are, I'm sorry that I was such a big square.
I think Max is square.
Don't say that.
That's okay.
He did such a good job.
He did, and he can still be square. It's hip to be square.
And one last thing about the city of Manzanita.
Okay, spit it out.
One of the stories that spit it out. One of the stories that I did, like we went because there was a location scout that needed to do a pitch to the city of Manzanita because they wanted to
Oh.
film a pilot show in Manzanita called Stadies, based off I'm assuming Oregon State Troopers, which nobody in the state of Oregon calls a state trooper a statey. They are staters, but no one got the memo.
So clearly, nobody from Oregon wrote it.
Yeah.
So that was the giveaway.
But I guess it was about like a hard-boiled cop who ends up on the Oregon coast, and maybe her partner's like a goofy flannel-wearing state trooper who I guess talked to animals. Like that was a big part of it. No wonder this never like went anywhere. Poor thing. But they ended up filming.
Never know.
They ended up filming this show. Yeah, it could have gone straight to streaming. Never did. But they ended up doing this whole pilot for over the course of a couple days in Manzanita. And I think had signed up to be extras, but maybe we missed the mark a little bit. Like the deadline had passed. So we went and covered it for the newspaper. And it was like really weird, like they're shutting down the streets. You can't go, you can't walk through this certain area. That was
I
interesting.
remember they had the camera, it's like the car chased down, but they're like parallel with it, cruising down the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was wild to see. Our little Manzanita.
Again, I think we're doing just a little bit backtracking again, but we talked about how Manzanita was identified and the original conception for it being created. So people would come in from Portland via train. They'd get off in Moeller, which is like heading toward Highway 53, or it is a part of 53. What's going on with Moeller?
I feel like it's probably a part of 53, but
Or
maybe it's
not, 'cause
not.
it's in Nehalem. Anyway.
Okay. Anyway.
Whatever. And so then I think they would take like a stagecoach from Moeller to Manzanita, which is that's not close. You have to go through Nehalem
Yeah.
to get there. Anyway.
Travel was just so crazy.
But it was, I think, real estate agents in the early 1900s, like something that I saw said like 1914, whatever, that could be an arbitrary year. Apparently, real estate agents were pitching it as the Carmel of the North.
Oh.
So that's an interesting parallel because that is recent. I think we knew about Carmel by the Sea, but like I think we've always kind of not really entertained the thought of like checking that place out. But knowing that it was kind of Manzanita was designed to be a parallel to that is interesting to me. It makes me want to visit Carmel.
We'll see. We know it's next on our list. So, okay. So again, this is like super small town. There's like all these businesses. They have like a bookstore. They got this really fancy dog store. The spa that I worked in was a new build. So like it had just been built when I started working there. But I didn't know that because as we've established, I didn't know Manzanita that well and apparently never drove down the street.
Was the community like okay with this build?
I think so. So the owner of the spa at that time, she had been a massage therapist, like I think doing massage out of this like little shack for years and had built this huge clientele. So I do think that she had a lot of support.
Wasn't she also like an alternate to the Olympics or something?
Yeah, she was on the 1988 Olympic cycling team as an alternate. And yeah, she's like crazy bodybuilder, very fit. Anyway, so she started the spa. And so I was working there. And I just remember like I did drive to work. Not
What, a mile?
Not always, but regularly. And I think part of it is because I was like on call. And so
You weren't that close. I mean, you should have maybe had a bicycle.
But really, I wasn't that far. I mean, so I did walk to work many times, and that was good. It was nice to be in Manzanita where everything was so walkable. I mean, because, from top to bottom, from 101 to the ocean is...
A stone's throw.
I mean, it's not very far. I mean, less than a mile.
Yeah.
I don't know. Somebody probably has that figured. Obviously, we don't. But yeah, I just remember, like, driving down there. I would park my car. I never locked my car. Sometimes I would leave my bag in there. I never locked my apartment. I mean, I felt very safe, maybe too safe in Manzanita.
Aw.
And it's so interesting to go back now because things are different. I think you're waiting to talk about it, but I'm ready to talk about it now.
The thing that hit the city?
Yeah, which it was interesting to see the date, October 14th.
2016.
Yeah.
It's almost like the universe was like, guys, something bad's about to happen. Let's wake you up to show you that something bad is going to happen anyway.
Okay.
So we are naked in bed, and it was like a Friday, and I'd gotten most of my hours taken care of at the newspaper, so I was like, I'll go in like an hour late, whatever. Which then my phone starts going off, and it's my freaking boss. He's like, Jordan, there was a tornado in Manzanita. And I'm like, okay, Joe. Then you get on social media, come to find out a tornado did go through Manzanita, and I think just went through.
Yeah, I mean, it just like cruised all the way up Lanita. Like there was a little water spout, and then
A little water
spout that got bigger, and then it was a tornado that just ripped through the main drag. Nobody died.
I think
major injuries.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Borderline miraculous.
I do think people were traumatized.
I think people are still a little traumatized.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not without trauma, but the fact that everyone survived is pretty miraculous. So yeah, we do know some people that were affected, and yeah, so we get this call, we jump in the car,
we put clothes on, we didn't do it nude,
and I think we just ran out the door. I'm driving.
You're driving. We go by my boss, who's standing on the street corner, holding out the like newspaper's nice camera, and I like lean out and like grab it
because I'm like, we can't stop.
Yep.
Just
lean out, grab the camera from my boss, and we head up. But then we just kept getting these alerts,
and it's still kind of stormy out. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Like it was
not nice. So we're driving, and so it takes about, I don't know, a half hour to get to Manzanita from Tillamook without any like crazy bad traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And so our phone keeps going off these like weather alerts. It's like tornado imminent, take shelter now.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just staring at it like, oh God, what are we supposed to do? So instead we just keep driving.
Mm-hmm. I do think that we called like our family to say like goodbye, just like on the off, just like, okay, just FYI is what we're doing.
And I don't think anybody really questioned it or said like, oh, maybe your life isn't worth getting a few pictures for this little small town newspaper.
Yeah, that's paying you so well.
Peanuts. I got paid in free newspapers.
Yeah, that's nice.
As much as I want, like a bird in a bird cage.
Okay, so we arrive in Manzanita. It was like destroyed, really. Like it looked like for me, it was very surreal. Like down power lines, down trees, no one's on the street, which isn't super abnormal. Again, small
It
town
was
in
Friday,
the winter.
Friday morning.
Right.
In the fall, babe. October.
Right. So I mean, definitely for that time,
Okay.
it was kind of crazy. And so we were the first
We're the first like news agency
on the scene.
Yeah.
But I guess there was like the fire and rescue. Like there was a couple emergency vehicles that were trying to
Well, also the
assist.
really cool thing about Manzanita in North Tillamook County is that there is a group of volunteers called the Emergency Volunteer Corps of Nehalem Bay, I think is what their name is. And they're just ready. They're ready for like a big earthquake. They're ready for natural disaster because when you're on the Oregon coast, we are prone to natural disasters. And so they were responding too. They had like their little like green vests out. I think they had set up shop for like getting people whose homes got like kind of screwed up. I think they were giving out food maybe. I don't know what was going on there. There was
Yeah.
also like just citizens. Like I remember like walking around just hearing like the sound of chainsaws
Mm-hmm.
because Manzanita with that waterspout, Manzanita is very green and there's a lot of trees in Manzanita. But this tornado / waterspout, whatever you want to call it, it wiped out a third of the trees in Manzanita. And so that was a wild figure that I got from the city manager. And so, I mean, you saw like groves that used to be trees just like completely destroyed, just like these like big broken stumps.
Yeah, like especially right where I used to live. All of that was a beautiful tree grove that's essentially gone now.
Really?
Mhm.
Because we took Bretzel there recently, and that's like where we're throwing like the sticks and stuff like that was all
Yeah.
trees.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, because I had another dog then, and
And another guy, if you know what I mean.
no, not that
Are you
dog.
talking about Chance,
Yeah, I'm talking about
Chance?
my little grandpa dog.
the rapper?
Wow. Yep, I inherited a little grandpa dog.
Well, you also
and
had another
so,
man with him too. So
I don't know.
anyway, grandpa dog,
Yep. So he and I would go to the trees.
you'd go walk in this forest.
Well, we weren't. I mean, but we were like weaving in and out.
Was it
you
kind of
know?
like compare, like, paint me the visual. Like, was it full of trees?
Well,
On a scale of 1 to Mirkwood, where are we at?
I would say I don't know what's comparable. I mean, there were many trees and now there's none. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
That wasn't very great.
But yeah, so it knocked out power lines. Like, all the power was down in Manzanita. Like, just freaking, like, live wires were, like, dangling. I think, like, the utility district had to come, like, knock it all out.
Okay, but I just remember feeling like we were in trouble because they had the megaphones and somebody's like, "Go back to your homes," and we're like,
And it wasn't not directed at us, but I think there were, like, there were some, concerned citizens wandering around being like, "Hey, our town's destroyed."
mm-hmm. Well, okay. Do you remember running into that one gal who said, like, she was like, "Oh, like I just arrived here like late last night." She had no idea. She'd never been to Manzanita before. She didn't know anything.
She'll
it was,
never forget it either.
She probably won't. And I think, because yeah, there was like no power because my brother's mother-in-law, she lived in Manzanita, and I think all her windows got blown out, like her house.
But did something with one of the windows. Otherwise, like, glass would have gone everywhere. But, like, maybe like, there was one window where she was safe. But yeah.
Right, like it was just, it hit perfectly where she was okay. And we had another friend like that, they stood behind something, but it was like so close that, I mean, again, it was just insane that nobody was seriously injured in that way,
And then
physically.
not a lot of some of the iconic institutions along Lanita, I think a lot of them were saved, but a couple of the buildings got like pretty like ravaged.
So I think that from that point on, yeah, there was a couple buildings that were, like, one or two that had to be knocked down or completely redone, because that's afterwards is when the winery thing showed up.
Yeah.
And, there was a couple businesses that were no longer in business. And I think they had to, like, maybe they opened up a shop in Cannon Beach, or like there was there was like fundraisers going on. I mean, the town definitely took a hit.
I think a lot of people were kind of scared to go visit because it's like, oh, is it going to happen again?
Right. And I think there was a big push from, those couple hundred people that live there. They're like, hey, like, if you really want to help us, it's like, come and visit and come and spend some money. And,
Yeah. Like one of the businesses, I remember, I don't know what went through the wall. I don't know if it was a power pole or something was blown. Like, remember, it was just like a wall was just gone from like
Yeah.
the I think it was Manzanita Cones and Coffee at that time. I think it was like the wall was just sheared off or something had blown through it, destroying it.
yeah, I mean, it was very wild to be there. And since they have like rebuilt and are trucking ahead. Well, and the other thing is like when we were walking around there that crazy day, like you were interviewed by the major.
One of the major like Portland area news organizations, and so I was like getting interviewed, but like it's like windy, can't really hear them. I'm trying to like describe what I'm seeing. Yeah, that was pretty cool. My 5 minutes of fame.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, so it was also like I think we were taking videos and posting them on the newspaper that I worked for, the newspaper's Facebook page, and we finally went viral. I think a video that we posted got like 4 million hits.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I am curious. So, like, if there was other homes, because again, Manzanita's so wide because the tornado like went up, but then it like veered off, didn't it?
It went at a diagonal, a quick diagonal, because obviously it went up Lanita and then obviously veered enough to go through that grove. I think it crossed 101 and then dissipated. Yeah, but then I don't think anything else popped up, but I think there was still like the threat of tornado for a little while afterwards. But
Yeah.
someone who lived like up on Neahkahnie Mountain, I think they got video of the waterspout like forming that morning, because it was like kind of like a stormy morning. They're like, oh, something looks weird out there, and then you just see this monster be created.
Yeah.
Woo!
Man, Manzanita.
So obviously, like, the topography of Manzanita kind of fundamentally changed after that, but I want to go back to when you lived there. Like, take me through, like, what did life look like when you lived in Manzanita?
Oh, it was the simple life. I mean, but I was working, like, I was on call basically every day at the spot because, again, you had to make money while you could. And so I was the only esthetician. I was doing facials, hair removal, whatever. And so I was very busy during the summer and less busy in the wintertime, which the wintertime was my favorite because just, beaches are empty, streets are empty. That's what I'm into.
So would you go to the beach pretty regularly?
Not in the summer. Yeah, I think that I would because I really enjoyed walking around. I liked walking down to the beach, walking up the hill because I lived all the way at the top towards 101. And
Above a restaurant.
Above a restaurant. And then they would play Norah Jones, the same song every day when they opened. And I was like, oh yeah, I like the song.
Opening time.
I know. And they didn't allow pets, but then the grandpa dog really needed a home, so they let me keep him.
Oh. Well, they also let you get, like, giant mirrors.
Yeah, because I like to dance. And so I was like, oh, you know what this apartment needs? Giant mirrors.
Like ballet dance studio mirrors,
Oh,
right?
yeah, they were massive. And so I went to Seaside, went and bought these massive mirrors that they came and delivered and installed. Yeah, this is insane reflecting. But I was like, man, I want it. I got it.
Wow.
But one of the things I really liked doing is walking around Manzanita and just seeing all the different houses. It's like, this is how I kind of discovered that Manzanita had like just so many homes. They were mostly empty. There's just a ton, and they were all different. They were unique styles. I mean, the most recent one that you and I have seen is that one house that's like all black, and we're like, what's going on here?
It's kind of scary looking, like kind of like I imagine it's like a Los Angeles style home or like a bougie part of Portland or Seattle. I imagine it's some Seattleites who have a second home there, but it's kind of like spooky villain headquartery looking.
Yeah, and so it's great. It's great. It's different.
But a lot of people, like in their early 20s, I think people like want to be stimulated with a bunch of like music, a lot of events, a lot of social activities, but did you never felt that way being in Manzanita?
So I was like, you know, I was pulled into like a lot of different directions. So I had family in the neighboring town of Nehalem. So sometimes I would see them. And then I had my hippie alternative neighbor who was inviting me to ecstatic dance, and maybe we'd go like dance on the beach, or they were, you
Okay,
know,
well, you have to tell me what ecstatic beach is.
okay, it's not ecstatic beach, it's ecstatic dance.
Whatever.
Which, because it was like, yeah, I love to dance, but I wasn't taking dance classes. And so he was like, oh, well, this is dance, but it was, you know, they're going to play some sort of new age, not, it's like, it's to me, it was like kind of meditative dance, like, you know, but it's like freestyle, you know, no one's like spinning on their heads or anything, but you're just kind of like swaying to the music and doing what your body feels.
But there was no like choreography. You just
No,
dancing.
correct.
Okay, cool.
Right. And so, and I think with that, it's like the playlist would start slow and then would pick up and you're like going really crazy. And then it would
So
like
everyone's
come back
listening to
down.
the same
Correct.
playlist.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, in Manzanita, yeah, there was like a little group of kind of retirees, but then kind of like some couple young hippies. Like I didn't have a lot of young friends in Manzanita.
Which is just, that's your bread and butter. You prefer older people.
It's true.
I don't know how we're friends.
Well, you're older now, wiser.
Yeah.
So I just I worked a lot. I dabbled in different communities, but I don't know that I don't think I was there long enough to really integrate, but I was able to observe the different communities at large. And yeah, I just really loved, I have a lot of fond memories. Oh, and one of the people I was working on, she had like married into the family that owned the golf course, you know, and I'm like,
In Manzanita?
yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, what golf course?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, and there's like this golf course that's in Manzanita because Manzanita has it all, apparently.
But I don't think it's not an 18-hole course. I think it might be like a 9-hole course. It's only a 9-hole.
I don't even know what you're saying. Yeah, well, I don't know, because people love it. I mean, people would talk about it all the time. And so if it is smaller, people seem happy.
Nah.
You know what else I liked? I liked where you'd see like people driving golf carts in Manzanita, and I'm like, I want one. Anyway, so if we ever move there, live in Manzanita with a golf cart. But they now got like what seems like a full-time police officer in Manzanita. You know, that's like a red flag.
He's gonna crack down on the golf carts.
You know, I'm just saying, in my day, there was no cops around. Now we got one.
Yeah, because you didn't need it.
Yeah, see? You know what else? There's that, switching gears, there is that bar in Manzanita. Well, there's lots.
You're talking about the sand dune?
The sand dune.
No free pub.
Oh.
Anyway.
Okay, so there is a sports bar in Manzanita that I feel like has been there for a really long time.
An icon.
I think it's woman owned.
Wow.
Yeah, and they have live music a lot. I mean, regularly. Decent food. I think that there is just a lot of really nice little gems, or there has been. Like, that is something that's been there for a really long time. I was there for my 21st birthday.
I would say you were there before your 21st birthday, if you know what I mean.
I was.
Because Katie's birthday is November 1st, which if you're looking at your calendar is the day after Halloween. And so that's kind of a precarious time anyway to be celebrating things. So you went to a Halloween party.
I did. I showed up, I think, at like 11.
What were you dressed up as?
A belly dancer.
So what do you think about that today?
What do you want me to think about it? Do you think that's inappropriate?
I don't know.
Do you think it's appropriation?
It might be a little bit.
I think I am nothing but an appropriation enthusiast on accident. I don't want to be that way, but
You're just excited about other cultures.
I am. And I'm like, oh, what's wrong with that?
I don't know. Your senior year, my junior year of high school, our fall play that we did was Arabian Nights, which we didn't question that.
I
And
did. That's why I wasn't in it.
we were all like, I wore a turban, and I think a few of the girls were belly dancers. Yeah, not great looking back. There's photographs of me. being that turban-wearing boy.
Was it just you?
No, there were a lot of turbans and a lot of quote-unquote genie pants is what they called them.
Great.
Yes. Anyway.
Okay.
So you wore a belly dancer's outfit. Who took you to the bar?
My dad.
So you got into the car wearing a belly dancer's outfit.
Yeah, I remember my dad was like, whoa. I was like, hey,
It's just my body.
yeah.
How much skin were you showing? Most of it.
Probably more than I needed to be.
And then you go to the sand dune.
Yeah, and then the guy at the door almost doesn't let me in, but then
You go, but it's almost my birthday.
no, my boss that had arranged this
Wow.
was like, I had already talked to so and so, and yeah, you can whatever. So anyway, so I did technically make it into the bar before my 21st birthday, which maybe we shouldn't even put this in there. I'm gonna shut it down.
Shut it down. Yeah, this thing that happened over a decade ago.
I know.
I think that's...
But yeah, it was great because it was a fun little party. And
Were people happy? Were they like, oh my god, Katie's here?
yeah, I mean, because I had been working at the spa, for a while at that point, and people were always inviting me to like the bar and to go out, and I never had the heart to tell them that I wasn't old enough.
I'm a child.
I'm actually a baby, so
I just think with like you present older than you are, or like I feel like you did for a long time.
mm-hmm.
I think you surprised a lot of people, and you're like,
I'm actually 12. Yeah. So, Manzanita. But yeah, so I got a different job, and that I, traveling the country. And so that's why I left Manzanita. Otherwise, maybe I'd still be there.
aw. Manzanita also has an iconic farmer's market, and at the time when we got together, like farmer's markets, like pretty much went over my head. Like I saw a few when I was in Portland, and been like, yeah, they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
So describe to me what you saw when you lived in Manzanita with the farmer's market. What happened?
Well, see, I wasn't always at the farmer's market because a lot of times I was working, and it happens on a Friday night.
Friday at 5.
And if you want to get, obviously this is just so many farmers markets. You got to be there right when it opens, and
Oh, you're picking up scraps.
all the good stuff is there at 5. You got to like race to the really good produce place. I mean, Manzanita has a really great market.
But they do something right before the market opens.
What?
They have a rope drop.
Yeah.
Well, you make it sound like that's
Oh.
common.
Oh,
Yeah, every farmer's market has a rope drop.
maybe.
Well, a few that I've been to do not have a rope drop.
Yeah, they got to keep the masses out. But yeah, neighbor in Manzanita, he was providing, like he was cooking and selling food at the farmer's market, and that was the first time.
Oh, he was?
Uh-huh.
Wow. He
And
had a little booth?
I think so, and I don't even think I ever went or like saw it because I was working in those days. And so by the time, but see, isn't that it? Where it's like the market's only open when I was like busy at the spa, and like in the wintertime it's not happening. So yeah, I didn't really go very much. But I always appreciated it. And yeah, when I moved away, I would make a point to show up and go to the market.
Aw.
What about the Hoffman Center?
So yeah, they have this big nonprofit, really sweet art center in Manzanita. And so do you know the story about it at all?
No.
So apparently it was like this couple who was like big in the artist community in Manzanita. He was a painter. I think she was a musician. And upon their deaths, they apparently died in 2004. I think they donated like their estate or something to create something in Manzanita.
Wow.
I don't know, maybe not the entire estate, but definitely like their property. They donated their house, maybe some money. But the house like it couldn't be used like in a public way, and so I think they got rid of the house, and then across the street had like something else that they had developed, and that's what became the Hoffman Center, because it's their last name, the Hoffmans, and so they have like this like, it's a center for a bunch of different mediums. They're putting local artists on display with like paint or sculptures.
There's some workshops.
They have a clay studio, which is apparently back open. I just saw that.
Ah.
They have a kiln. because why not?
Yeah.
And then they have like writing workshops and other like guest lecture series that come through. We went to a Martin Luther King weekend event there, which was really cool. Yeah, it's just like really nice. And across the street, it might be where their home originally was. They have, and did this pop up recently? Was this there when you were there?
I don't remember it being there. Like, yeah, that's like art installation.
It's kind of like a plaza with like a bunch of like local plants that they are cultivating, and then they have these big sculptures that are out.
Yeah, it's really nice. And it's right next door to the library.
The library.
Because, Manzanita's got a library because it has it all.
The library's so cute. In the library, I hung out there for hours because you were working at the spa again. And the day after you kissed me for the first time in March of 2013.
Wow, I don't know that we need the date.
We went up, and so it was like, it was the day after we made out for hours, and we weren't really talking about it.
That's right.
But we went up, we were having a good time, as we do. And then you dropped me off at the library, and I think I walked around, enjoyed it. And then they have this like little outdoor seating area under like a big tree. So I sat under there. I think I watched an episode of Game of Thrones at one point on my iPad, which hasn't aged well. I don't know, I think Game of Thrones is great, but whatever. It was just really cute. And then you gave me a facial because you were like working on some product or something. You needed a guinea pig, and you're like, hey. And so you and the gal you're working with gave me my first facial.
Aw, first and last?
In Manzanita. I don't think I've gotten one again, unless you've given me one.
I know, I can't remember.
I don't understand how it works. Face, skin, oils.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so so much to say. Manzanita has so much going for it, and I'm happy that we have shared experiences there, and...
What are you going to do the next time you go to Manzanita?
Ooh. The next time, well, I think it'd be nice to go to McGregor's.
Hi, McGregor's. No free pub, man.
Oh my God. Okay,
it's a whiskey bar.
Okay. So yeah, that would be nice. The other thing that I would like to do, God, maybe go check out the golf course.
What?
I mean, that seems like really crazy. Like a little...
Putt Katie. That's not putt-putt golf.
But I mean, yeah, don't you feel like we should do it?
I was thinking like Hoffman Center. Like I want to go to do like a clay workshop or do one of their writing things, which you tried to have me do like during 2020. And then
it shut down.
And then it 2020'd.
See? I feel like both options are good.
Maybe some outdoor stuff. I feel like I haven't really experienced the beach as much in Manzanita.
I was just going to say, I think it'd be nice to do a really long beach walk. Or... remember they had like those little mesh screens. You go and clean up the beach and try to get all the
microplastics.
And by all the microplastic, just
a little bit. I don't think that's to like check out, but maybe you can because it was with Cardum. Oh, Cardum.
Oh my gosh.
Rest in peace, Cardum. I can't even. Where do you start with Cardum?
No, we can't even talk about that. Okay.
It was a recycle center / refinery / all this like cool stuff. It was super ahead of its time, and then the county like shut it down. Like didn't like fund it.
Okay, the other thing is we could rent those little bicycles, beach bikes.
They also have the visitor center has the beach wheelchairs, which we took and we tried out.
See?
And so that was super inclusive. And there's like a ramp down to the beach because Manzanita is super dog friendly. The entrance to the beach has a bunch of water just available.
See? Manzanita.
It's perfect.
You guys.
Their garbage receptacles are cute.
There's a
park.
They meant like a sweet shop.
Where you had the best caramels of your whole life.
Oh, but then the company shut down, so...
They found out that it was out of Canby, which seems super random.
Okay, well now we're just throwing around buzzwords. People are going to be like, what are we talking about?
Caramel.
So anyway.
Do you have any regrets with Manzanita? Things you wish you had done?
I think any regret that I would have is maybe not being as involved in my community, like really getting out there and meeting more people. Because a lot of people that I met, again, were from out of town, at the spa, blah, blah, blah. Or just like my coworkers.
So
my neighbor.
Which is still one of your best friends today.
There we go.
Aww.
He's still in it. Just barely hanging on. But
As a friend?
As a friend.
God.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because there was somebody I met at a shop and she had a little
Dog.
daughter
Oh, daughter.
and she really wanted me, because I had, installed these giant mirrors. She wanted me to teach her dance. And I felt so unqualified. She was like, no, you can do anything and it'd be fine. And I was like, ooh. And she was like, wanted to pay me. She really wanted me to teach her daughter dance. And I just felt
You didn't do it.
so,
Imposter syndrome?
yeah. And it's really interesting to reflect on that because now that I have taught in a dance studio and I've seen what other people are doing, I'm like, oh yeah, I could definitely have done something. And so that I think is I feel regret in that regard a little bit. But I mean, yeah, could you imagine me like, okay, some little dance class in my apartment?
In your house? I don't know if you're zoned for that.
But yeah, in Manzanita with this like friend that I have, neighbor, it was really him. I think I funded it and he cooked. But he cooked it at his apartment and then brought it to my apartment. And he and I hosted Thanksgiving in my Manzanita apartment with my parents and grandparents and a random massage therapist who showed up.
Showed up or was invited?
She was invited.
Hello.
So,
Cute.
yeah, Manzanita will always have a special place in my heart.
Any other final words?
Well, wait, any regrets that you have?
I regret not moving there because, when I got hired at the newspaper, originally I was supposed to be the reporter for the North County Manzanita area newspaper because the bigger newspaper gobbled that one up and declined in quality significantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have lived there. I would still love to live there. I mean, I think the vibe is just right.
I know.
For Jordan.
Retirement community. I really want to play pickleball.
I want to go kick some ass. I want to go kick somebody out of the tennis court so I can play pickleball.
Yes.
I want to go rough them up.
All right.
That's what I want to do.
Manzanita's the place to make that happen.
I regret not being on site when the pickleball players showed up to like kick out the tennis players. I would have loved to get that on camera.
Oh, man.
That would have been funny. Hey!
I know.
Anyway.
Okay. Well,
Everybody, thank you so much for listening to us. Just
ramble.
gush about the little apple that is Manzanita.
Okay, but there is a grocery store named the Little Apple.
Yeah.
And it was the first place
You'd ever had a sandwich?
I'd ever had a dolma.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was like, what? Why is the Little Apple giving out dolmas?
They do it all, man.
They do it all. Sandwiches aren't too bad either.
So, my dear, my sweet, my beautiful wife, January is a dear time to me. It reminds me of the January we spent in Thailand.
What a wondrous, magical month.
What a weird month. It's been 8 years since we've been to Thailand.
It's taken us 8 years to decompress.
To process a lot of the things we saw and did. So next week, Katie, I would like to go someplace near and dear. I'd like to go to the top of Thailand, to the highest peak in the country. I'd like to go to Doi Intanon, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right because no one ever taught me.
I just say the village.
We'd like to go to the village that I'm not going to say we were shanghaied into going, but we didn't really choose to go there. So next week, friends,
Let's go.
let's go to the village. Oh my God.
Yes.
All right. Well, everybody, love you.
Love you too.
Have the best start to your 2023.
Happy New Year!
3, 2, 1, yeah!
Bumblebee tuna. I love bumblebee tuna.
Yum yum bumblebee tuna. I love it.
sandwich made with bumblebee.
What's the words?
Bumblebee.
No.
Bumblebee tuna.
No, I got that.
I love a sandwich made with bumblebee.
What? I swear that's not what we were taught. It
Well,
was
I mean,
like I love the
cans
the
of
taste.
the taste of bumblebee.
of I don't know.
You know,
It's not my fave.
I kind of liked it. But then
The
we go
song
up.
or the tuna?
I don't think I've ever had bumblebee tuna.
Even after singing about it, you weren't like, "Hey, give me some of this."